Good morning, all. This is Harry with This Week in Pro Football, episode number 2, week 9, part 2. Well, we're getting into the part of the season with a playoff push, and we're going to learn the men from the boys, so to speak, to see who's for real and who's not. We've got a lot of interesting games going on today. Of course, your fantasy teams, for setting your lineup, remember, especially if you have any Vikings, if you have any Chargers, if you have any Patriots, any Steelers, they're in bye this week. Also, I believe the Cleveland Browns and the Chicago Bears also are on bye. First game I want to talk about is Atlanta at Carolina. Atlanta coming in at 4-3, Carolina at 5-3, and we're going to learn a lot about both teams. You would think the way both defenses are playing, both Matt Ryan, the Atlanta quarterback, and the Carolina quarterback Cam Newton would have big days. I think more so Atlanta than Carolina. I just think there's something off with Carolina, and they traded probably the best receiver to Buffalo, Kelvin Benjamin, before the trading deadline. So the lack of weapons there is hurtful for Carolina. But I think Atlanta is going to try to look to get back on track. I would look for a big day from Julio Jones today, a big day from Taylor Gabriel. Hopefully Coleman and Freeman, their running backs, will look good, so to speak. I would definitely be looking to start my Atlanta starters. I know one of my leagues I have Matt Ryan as my quarterback and Taylor Gabriel as my wide receiver for today against Carolina's defense. It's just something not right about Carolina, and we'll see what happens there. Next game to talk about is the Colts, Indianapolis, at the Houston Texans. And unfortunately for the Houston Texans, they lost their all-star, all-world, Rookie of the Year candidate quarterback Sean Watson to a devastating ACL injury earlier this week. So it's Tom Savage in for them. It took a game that Houston, I think, would have won pretty easily, because I don't think the Colts players' hearts are into it, especially now that Andrew Luck isn't even going to be playing this year. It doesn't look good for the Colts. So I would still start Houston and would still think that Jadeveon Clowney is going to step up, look great against the Colts offense, and that somehow, some way, Houston will look to gouge together at least 17 points. Look into Jacoby Brissett, the Colts quarterback, though. You just never know. It is a home game for Houston, so I would look to Houston to win by at least 10 to 14 points there. Game next is Cincinnati Bengals at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Cincinnati's a bit of a disappointment this year. They tried to move their backup quarterback to their division rival, A.J. McCarron, although it would have been a good deal if they would have gotten it for Cleveland's second and third round draft pick next year, which plan on being pretty high. Could help the Bengals rebuild their whole team, but they didn't get the paperwork done before the deadline of 4 p.m. Eastern this past Tuesday, Halloween. In the meantime, Cincinnati still has quite a few weapons, obviously. A.J. Green. They have running back Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard. They have their quarterback, of course, Andy Dalton. And what I would think would be a pretty good defense. It looks like on paper it should be Cincinnati, but I have a feeling Jacksonville's going to win this game. Their players have improved considerably under the leadership of Tom Coughlin and Doug Marrone, their head coach, Tom Coughlin being the general manager virtually de facto. So I'm thinking you're going to see Blake Bortles have a pretty good game, and Leonard Fournette, and a lot of play-action passing. Then we have Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are a surprise team so far. They looked awful against my Vikings the first Monday night game of the year, and I thought it was going to be a long year for the Saints. They have rebounded nicely. They are 5-2. Tampa Bay, by the way, is 2-5, and a bit of a disappointment, to say the least. However, I think today, be on the lookout for Jameis Winston to possibly have a pretty good game. You just never know. And Mike, their wide receiver, Mike Evans, who's in tight end O.J. Howard, who on paper just looks so great. I have a feeling that New Orleans defense has gotten better, but it's not that much greater. So look for a close game. Probably, since it's a home game for the Saints, they'll pull it out. Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara. I don't know what we're going to see from Mike Ingram. I have a feeling that fumbling is, he cannot fumble at all the rest of the year if he's going to get any sort of contract with the Saints in the future. It could be that Alvin Kamara supplants him as the number one back by default. Next game we have is the 5-2 Los Angeles Rams at the 1-6 New York Giants. Oh boy, again, the Rams are a surprise team. The Giants a bit of a disappointment. And the Giants really don't have much offensive punch except for Eli Manning. Sterling Shepard, of course, is back. Elvin Ingram, their rookie tight end. Again, the Rams are almost like the Saints. They're 5-2, but how did they get there? Jared Goff looks great. Todd Gurley obviously looks great. Let's see what happens today. As at New York, a lot of emotion, especially what happened this past week in New York on Tuesday with the terror bombing. I think we might see the Giants upset the Rams today. Next game, probably the biggest game of the day, the Denver Broncos at 3-4 at the Philadelphia Eagles, 7-1, best record in the NFL. Carson Wentz is playing at all-pro level. Now they have Jay Ajayi, great trade, or just a fourth-round pick to the Dolphins, from the Dolphins. Denver, again, is a bit of a disappointment. Maybe they're a little bit overrated. That quarterbacking situation has got to calm down, and I don't think any of their offensive weapons, running back or wide receiver, are that great. I think a little overrated again. I got C.J. Anderson in one of my leagues, and he hasn't done much all year. Keep hoping, though, that he'll do something. This could be a closer game than people expect. A lot of times, especially a young team who's doing great like the Eagles are at 7-1, it's hard to win those games that you should win. So look for the Eagles to pull it out by 3. Next game, we have the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. Baltimore 4-4, Tennessee 4-3. Baltimore up and down all year, much like Tennessee. Joe Flacco will be back today as Baltimore's quarterback. They have some weapons, but the defense is okay. They look great against Miami at home, 40-0, which prompted Ajayi to be shipped from Miami to Philadelphia because Ajayi didn't get along with anybody. Still be on the lookout for Tennessee. They need this game. They need to prove they belong in the elite. They need to stay. If they win this game and Jacksonville and Houston were to lose, then they would be in first place by themselves in the AFC South. And a 9-7 record may win that division. So Marcus Mariota, Derrick Henry, DeMarco Murray, Corey Davis, the rookie wide receiver. Look for them to have a pretty good. Delaney Walker, their fullback / tight end. Look for them to have a big game, and their defense to have a big game today. I think this is going to, since it's at Tennessee win by 10. Then you have the 3-4 Arizona Cardinals visiting the 0-8, unfortunately, San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers made a huge trade, giving them probably is going to be a high 33rd or 34th pick overall, second-round pick, to the New England Patriots for Jimmy Garoppolo, which should be their quarterback of the future. I think they'll get him signed, or at least franchise tag him in the offseason as long as he doesn't tank. He more than likely will start today. They really don't. The 49ers have nowhere to go but up. They're 0-8. The Cardinals, yes, they got Adrian Peterson. He looked great the first game, but to be frank with you, most of those guys, Carson Palmer's gone for the year, Larry Fitzgerald, all these guys, Peterson, they're not what they used to be, unfortunately for them. The defense is still there, I would not be surprised if the 49ers won this game. They've got to win sometime. It would not be surprised me today. Let's say the 49ers by 7 today, and a big upset. Then we have the 3-4 Washington Redskins visiting the 5-2 Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks coming off a tremendous victory against Houston last week at home. Russell Wilson looked unbelievable, like an MVP candidate. Worries me about their defense, though. That was a home game, and they gave up a ton of yards and a ton of TDs, and a play here or there. Houston would have won that game. Deshaun Watson's playing, or was playing, at an all-pro level, all-rookie MVP level, rookie-of-the-year level, but something's wrong with Seattle's defense. I don't know if guys have gotten complacent or what the situation is, but I still think they'll pull out this victory over the Redskins. So obviously, the Redskins got Kirk Cousins. But what do they have after that? And again, 3-4. They lose today, they're going to be in huge trouble to make the playoffs. Not impossible, but to make the playoffs. Then we have the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-2 coming in to Arlington, Texas to play the Dallas Cowboys, who are 4-3. You know, just a few weeks of Kansas City, number 1 team in the NFL. Now, you know, they kind of lost a little of their luck. Last year, Kareem Hunt kind of stopped him a little bit. Alex Smith, how much longer, especially if he didn't look good today against the Dallas defense. If they could beat handily, if they beat the Patriots defense in New England, they should be able to handle Dallas defense in Arlington. But you just have this feeling. You just have this feeling that Dallas will somehow pull it out. This may be maybe Ezekiel Elliott's last game before he goes on a 6-game suspension. He got to stay, so he should play today, go out with a bang. And Dallas is in a situation where 5-3 is a lot better, obviously, than 4-4, but it's a must-win situation for both teams. It just wouldn't surprise me if Dallas pulled this out by 3 because it's a home game. I think I hate to say it, Alex Smith has hit a bit of a roadblock, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. And remember, Patrick Mahomes is waiting. So we'll see what happens. Dallas is the more desperate team there. We have the 3-5 Oakland Raiders playing at the 4-3 Miami Dolphins tonight, the Sunday night game in Miami. I don't know what is wrong with Miami. I thought Miami would at least get a wild card and be within a game of the Patriots. The Patriots finished 13-3. Miami would be 12-4, for example, and or win the division outright with a couple plays here and there. They traded Jay Ajayi. I know they got a great backup running back right now there that's going to take over for Jay Ajayi, and I hope for the Dolphins' sake, Jay Cutler should be back today, but I hope for their sake that they are able to get going with the weapons they do have and an experienced quarterback in Jay Cutler. I did not pick up their new running back yet. I know during the preseason he had a great game against the Vikings in the last preseason game in Minnesota that Miami won handily, mainly because he came out in the first series and looked phenomenal. He looked fantastic, and I apologize, I'm trying to get his name right now. He was a kind of a high draft pick a few years back, but we'll see here. Well, I think that we're going to see a big game from Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker. Derek Carr's doing the best he can, but really, to be fair and to be honest, I don't think they have... Kenyon Drake was the running back's name, by the way. I'm sorry about that. I think any of the Drake's going to take over and be good. I don't know if it's enough to save the Dolphins season right now. So we will see about that. And Adam Gase is not feeling any heat, obviously, this year. It's only a second year. We're going into year 3 or 4. They're going to have to see late season 3, early season 4. They're going to have to see improvement, obviously. I still think somehow, some way, Miami will rebound. Their defense was embarrassed 10 days ago. They've had 10 days off, mini bye. I think Miami by 7 today, because again, I just don't think the Raiders have a running game. Marshawn Lynch shows it was a huge mistake. You don't bring a guy who guy's retired, and he's out of football for over a year. What's he going to do? You know, it's obvious they can't get going. I know it's nicks here and there in the offensive line, but still, we'll see what happens. Well, I think that's just about all for right now. Please like and comment, good or bad. I know this is kind of just put together. Right now I'm on location, as you can see, out here Sunday morning, but we're getting there, and the future is always bright, so good luck on your fantasy teams today. See you tomorrow for part 3 and preview of the Monday night game. Goodbye. Good luck.